Hello and welcome to the Ice Guys. This is the show that takes you into the world of the National Hockey League. Every game, every day, from a betting perspective. With pro sports handicappers, Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, and various guests from the world of hockey and sports betting. And now, here's your host, Ian Cameron.
Welcome to the Ice Guys, Wednesday, May 20th. Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith. We're back after off day yesterday with no NHL action ongoing, but we are back and we are ready to turn the page to the conference finals, the final four of the NHL season, if you will. Vegas, Colorado get it rocking and rolling tonight in game one of the Western Conference Final, and tomorrow will be the Eastern Conference Final, game one between the Montreal Canadiens and the Carolina Hurricanes, and we now know it's Montreal because they beat the Buffalo Sabres on Monday night in Game 7. Just a quick thought on that. It was a great Game 7. You know, I think there was a little part in the second period where it slowed down a little bit, you know, but I thought the first period was exciting, and the third period and the overtime were phenomenal. Edge of your seat action, edge of your seat viewing, I feel, you know, financially, I don't feel bad because Montreal, I like them in Game 7. They won the series. They got the job done with the overtime win. But from a hockey fan standpoint and just watching it, I feel terrible for Buffalo because they could have won that game a million times over. I thought in the second and the third, they had a bad first period, no question. Montreal took it to them early, 2-0, a slow start at home, more of the same that we saw throughout the series, the home team struggling early on. But I thought in the second and the third period, Buffalo was carrying the play, controlled the flow, had the majority of the best chances. And at the end of the day, they didn't finish it, enough of them. You know, couldn't convert, missed nets, saves by Dobish, unable to pounce on rebounds. Montreal did a good job clearing away the loose change in front of the net. Overtime, I thought Montreal picked it up a little bit because I did think they got outplayed a little bit in the second and the third period. I thought the overtime was pretty even. Although Tage Thompson had a brilliant chance, I'm still wondering how the hell he did not make that pass to Benson. Now, I know he's the shooter, but I thought, boy, oh boy, that could have been a goal if he passes to Benson there on that 2-on-1 in overtime. And, of course, he tried to make a move and outweight Dobish. He was unable to do it. Dobish was able to make the save. And then, unfortunately, a turnover at the blue line goes the other way, and the series leading goal scorer, who just basically burst onto the scene, essentially, in that series, with an incredible series as far as putting in goals, scoring big goals, really going back to Game 7 when he scored against Tampa Bay. Alex Newhook with the overtime winner to give Montreal the Game 7 win and send them to the Eastern Conference Final against Carolina. We'll talk more about Montreal, obviously, when tomorrow when they start the series against Carolina in the Eastern Conference Final. But just a word on Buffalo. You're going to be initially disappointed, initially heartbroken, initially just absolutely devastated because I thought you could have won that game just as easily as Montreal did. And unfortunately, you're now being sent home. But you're now going to look back on this season, I would say, and even in just a few days, but certainly in a week, a month from now, a few months from now, what a season it was. And it was basically a season that announced to the hockey world Buffalo Sabres are a factor again. You know, we're a big deal again. And to get to the second round and the Game 7 of the second round, basically one shot away from the conference final. I think the best story in hockey, Alex, still this year, and there's been tons of great stories, Anaheim, even for a team like San Jose that didn't make the playoffs, the progression they made, no better story in the NHL than the Buffalo Sabres ending their 15-year playoff drought and getting all the way to the Game 7 of the second round. Nothing for that franchise to hang their head about.
No, absolutely not. Like you said, it's been a tremendous story, especially when you look at this. Wasn't just, you know, where, it was a beginning of the year where everybody kind of thought, all right, this would be the time where they finally break the playoff streak, and they were coasting through like Detroit and Ottawa and all those teams that they were battling. This was a team that looked dead in the water around Christmas time. And we were saying, here we go, old Buffalo again, same old shit. And then for them to turn it around and make the run all the way to, you know, getting to, you know, to the top of the division and, like I said, being one shot away from being in the conference finals. That's something that no one could have imagined, not just the beginning of this year, but certainly 2-3 months into this season. It is definitely the best story in all of hockey for the season by far.
No doubt. No doubt. Now the big decisions are made. It's just hilarious how months ago fans and probably the organization too thought it was a slam dunk. We're bringing back Alex Tuch, and now because he doesn't get a point in the Montreal series, they're saying let's cut him loose. Here's the thing with Alex Tuch: if you're going to sign him for 6 to 8 years, I'm not interested. There is no freaking way I would sign him at this stage of his career in a long-term deal. I'd pay him more money per year than I would offer him more years. That is for sure. It's got to fit. It's the thing. It's got to fit. It's just funny that, and it was a tough series for him. And I like that he was honest about it, in the press conference. It wasn't a great series at all for Alex Tuch against Montreal. Certainly for him to go from the series he had against Boston in the first round, where I thought he was really good against Boston, and then not get a single point against Montreal. Look, obviously disappointing series for him, but it's just funny that now everyone thinks, well, we can't re-sign this guy now because he has one bad playoff series. So it's just funny how the perception can change a little bit. But yeah, certainly there's going to be some decisions to be made in the offseason. One thing that's great is that they got Zach Benson's the guy they got to deal with. He's an RF. It's not an unrestricted free agent, but he is a restricted free agent. Get that done. That guy is a gamer. He's a fucking bulldog, Zach Benson. And you win games, especially in the Stanley Cup playoffs with a guy like that. So you got to get that done for sure. But Buffalo, great season, and Montreal on to the conference finals, and still undefeated off a loss, if you can believe it. 6-0 off a loss in the playoffs. They are actually 11-0 off a loss in their last 11 games off a loss going back to the regular season. Since that back-to-back losses they suffered in March.
Amazing.
Incredible. Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Great job by Montreal. Buffalo, great season by them. No doubt. And like I said, next season will be fascinating. Do they keep this momentum, or do they do a Buffalo thing and take a step back? That's going to be interesting to see what we get from the Sabres next season for sure. All right, let's turn our attention to the Western Conference Final. As always, we'll begin, before the series begins, we always like to give you a little feel of what we like for the series overall and series long bets. So that's where we'll start with Vegas and Colorado. Series price, Colorado minus 250. Favorites, Vegas plus 200 underdogs. We'll get to game one specifically, but when you look at this series, I think it's an uphill battle for Vegas. But now that you start to see some elements of the door opening based on the injury situation for Colorado. Cale Makar's already ruled out for game one tonight. What's his status now going to be moving forward here in this series? When you look at Vegas's first two rounds, I think that's where a lot of people get most concerned about with the Vegas Golden Knights. It's that they go from Utah and Anaheim, and that's no slight on Utah and Anaheim. Those are good young hockey teams. But now you're going to the big kahuna, if you will, of the NHL and certainly the Western Conference and the Colorado Avalanche. And Colorado, obviously, you compare the two pathways. LA, not so much, but, a Minnesota team that was right up there as one of the top teams points-wise in the West, and Colorado's got to go through them in the second round. So there is no question this is going to be a much tougher task for Vegas. But, they have been a team that you can't underestimate them completely either, because of the fact that since John Tortorella took over for Bruce Cassidy, they've looked like a different hockey club. They've looked organized. They've looked structured. There is no question that Carter Hart has given them, for the most part, he's had a couple bobbles and a couple of subpar games here and there, but I would say he has given Vegas more than not tremendous goaltending. He was very good in multiple games against Anaheim, especially in the closeout games later in the series. I thought he was great in Game 5 against the Anaheim Ducks, where they won that game, obviously, in overtime. I thought he was very, very good once again in the closeout Game 6 on the road against the Anaheim Ducks. And his goaltending, and that's always the one thing that you look at this series is we like Wedgwood. Wedgwood's got to be the guy. I don't want to see any more nonsense from Jared Bednar with Mackenzie Blackwood. That's enough already. Scott Wedgwood's got to be the guy here moving forward for them. But Vegas, of course, Carter Hart, if he plays like he did, especially in those last two games against Anaheim, there's going to be an opportunity for Vegas to be more competitive in this series. Win it might be a stretch, but like I said, to be more competitive in this series. I have decided I'm going to get in on the 6-7 game box in both conference finals this year. I am. But this one is going to be a little bit of the smaller bet variety for me. I'm not totally as bullish and really, really filled with tons of confidence that necessarily that this is a series that Vegas can push to the deeper waters of 6-7 games. But I think now with the Makar injury situation, and with the fact that you're talking about obviously a Vegas team that has certainly been able to find some footing, defensively. That's obviously, you look at the depth of scoring that Colorado has. Colorado's going to get offense from the third and the fourth line in this series. You're not always going to get that for Vegas, and that's going to be some of the concerns. The mobility element of Colorado, as far as what their puck movement from the blue line, Vegas can't match that either. It's especially when I know they added Rasmus Anderson, and they've got other guys on their blue line that can skate, Hanifin, Shea Theodore. But that's an element that they're going to have a hard time, I think, especially initially, which we'll get to when I talk game one specifically. But I think Vegas is good enough, tough enough, and has been really, really good enough from the goaltending of Carter Hart to push this to 6-7. So that's what I'm going to bet it there. The 6 games, the 7 games, as far as the exact number of games in the series, both at plus money. We're going to do as usual, you know how this works, 4-2, 4-3 Vegas, 4-2, 4-3 Colorado. And all we need is the series to go 6, and we'll be profitable. As far as the series-long player props, not as many do I love in this series, but the ones that I really like the most, we got to go to Brett Howden over 1.5 goals at plus money in this series. He's been too red hot as far as scoring goals for the Golden Knights. We almost hit the Brett Howden leading goal scorer of the Anaheim-Vegas series, but unfortunately didn't get it. He was close, though, and I think that's worth a small sprinkle as well. As far as Brett Howden, not only the over 1.5 goals at plus money for the series, but also that leading goal scorer prop. As far as shots on goal for the series, if the shots props, Dorofeyev makes sense in that regard. Now with Makar out, this becomes, I think, an element where Nathan MacKinnon. Now, as far as leading goal scorer, I mentioned liking Howden. There's probably a good chance McKinnon's going to lead the series in goals. I could see him just going off in this series. He's this close to another Stanley Cup final. Look at the way he's played so far in the playoffs. And with Makar starting the series as out here in game one, I could absolutely see McKinnon deciding, you know what, I need to score more goals in this series. So, he is the favorite at, I think, plus 160 or plus 170 to lead the series in goals, but he's a rightful favorite. In my opinion here. So, yeah, Brett Howden over the 1.5 goals. Certainly I like McKinnon as far as his over goals in the series too. For the most part, Dorofeyev as far as I'm on that same prop that Jonathan's on, the 12 plus 1,200 most shots. I think he's going to be shooting the puck quite a bit here in this series for the Vegas Golden Knights. Dorofeyev over goals makes a lot of sense. And because I think McKinnon is really going to take an onus to be more of that goal scorer in this series, especially with them starting the series without Cale Makar on the back end, there's a bet that you can place at Bet365 on Nathan MacKinnon to score a goal in every game in the series at plus 2,500. I don't think it's that outlandish to take a shot with that. That's Nathan MacKinnon. It's Bet365. It's plus 2,500. It's Nathan MacKinnon to have a goal in every game in this series at plus 2,500. I think it's got a shot. I absolutely think it's got at the very least a puncher's chance in this, not only with the way he's playing, but I could see the onus, especially on the power play with them starting without Makar. McKinnon's one-timer could become more prominent. So, like I said, the MacKinnon plus 2,500 shot, I think, is definitely something worth looking at here. Alex, for you, series bets, overall series thoughts for the Western Conference Final.
So, yeah, we kind of have the same thought process of backing as far as going with the 6-game, 7-game split, but I'm doing it a little differently because I do like a side in the spot, and I think Colorado's the team. You mentioned it. I think the way that Colorado, the path that they've gotten to the conference final, it looks easier, obviously, than what Vegas had to go through, but I think there's a reason for that. Colorado has made light work of those two teams because they are just that damn good. And like I said, now Vegas with the injury issues kind of tending to mount, I could see where this Colorado team having that little bit of extra rest, even if this is a couple of days extra, I think that could be enough to propel them forward. So the way that I played this is I have Vegas 4-2, 4-3, each at 7-1 at MGM. I have Colorado plus 375 to win series 4 games to 2, plus 400 to win 4 games to 3. But then I'm splitting with Game 1 series parlay. Colorado to win Game 1 in series minus 115. Vegas to win Game 1 and Colorado to win series plus 340. So I'm doing that as opposed to adding just that Game 6, Game 7 angles that are usually 2-1 plus 215. Shop around for those. So I'm taking a Colorado stance, but I'm going with that 6-7 split a little bit smaller as well, because I think, like I said, Vegas is still feisty enough to hang around, and they'll give Colorado, I think, way more of a battle than we saw Minnesota or LA give them. But overall, I like Colorado's game. I think this is just, they feel like a team of destiny, just like we'll kind of talk about in the Eastern Conference. It seems like the collision course of Colorado and Carolina, in my belief. I think there's something real to that. And I like Colorado to win this the series here against Vegas.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's it definitely, I can't put myself in a scenario where I'm not there with Vegas winning the series. I'm there with Vegas being competitive. I'm there with them making Colorado sweat potentially, but I'm not there with them winning the series. I think at the end of the day, it's still Colorado's. The depth on the up front with the four lines could make it. What are you going to get from Vegas's third and fourth line consistently? And look, they got phenomenal performances throughout that Anaheim series from Mitch Marner. Dorofeyev got going later on in that series. Brett Howden, for sure. Obviously, Eichel and Cloche Barbashev and a healthy William Karlsson. Like, I love the top six for Vegas. I love their top two lines, and they're playing well. But are you going to get something consistently from Cole Smith, Nick Dowd, Kolasar, Sissons? I know Tomas Hertl finally sprung to life down the stretch of that Anaheim series, but can I count on him in this series? I'm not so sure. Brandon Saad, that doesn't scare me too much. So that's the problem. I know for Colorado that and Jared Bednar knows this too, when he puts his third and the fourth line out, he's going to expect some offense. I can get something from Ross Colton. I can get something from Naz Kadri. I can get something from Big Val Nichushkin, even though it's been a quieter playoffs than we've seen from Big Val Nichushkin this year compared to in the past. I know I can get maybe a goal or two from Jack Drury, and certainly Parker Kelly. By the way, I forgot to mention that. I'm on Parker Kelly over saves here as well. Or not over saves. Parker Kelly over goals here in the prop market as well. It's the over 1.5 that I got with Parker Kelly here in this series. He's got goals in back-to-back games to finish that Minnesota series in the second round. I think it's definitely absolutely worth a look. No question about it, because he has been one of those players that has proven ability to step up and score some goals for this Colorado Avalanche team. So I think Parker Kelly, it's interesting. Parker Kelly over 1.5 goals. That was not available last I checked at FanDuel, but it was available at Bet365. So if you're going to bet that one, make sure you shop around, because for some reason Bet365 didn't have them initially posted. So keep an eye on that. I don't know if it's I don't see him right now there either. So make sure you're aware of that. But I certainly think Parker Kelly could be someone that makes an impact here in this series for he's plus 800 still. The same price I got with, it hasn't changed. Parker Kelly over 1.5 goals plus 800 for the series. I think that's definitely worth a shot. That's worth it.
I was going to say, just check around too and shop around. There's certain things and certain options that may not be available anymore. I know we talked about that in our group chat, where some parlay options may not be available because there's one game a night. There's a lot of things that could be changing. So check with your books. And like I said, always shop around for different options, because some things that may have been available in the first 2 rounds could be disappearing now that we've gotten the conference final just one game a night.
Absolutely. That's a great point. So that's no question. You gotta, if you're going to bet player props, so important to have multiple accounts, multiple books, and you want to do diligent line shopping, because you're going to see some differences for sure. That's not a bad point about Cuban Wayne Gretzky's making either. Nicholas Waugh looks like he's going to start the series on the second line for the Colorado Avalanche, with Brock Nelson and a returning Arturi Lehkonen, who looks like he's going to be ready to go to begin this series for the Avs. And, he's a guy that is a playoff performer. He's actually a former Vegas Golden Knight. So you got the former player angle in play in this series with Nick Waugh. He had a pretty solid series overall against the Minnesota Wild. He had a goal, but he also had 2 assists, 3 points in that series for the Avalanche. He had 2 goals against LA and 2 goals and an assist in the series against LA in the first round. So yeah, I don't hate Nick Waugh position here at all in this series as far as props. I think he could certainly be someone that's capable of making an impact here. So those are the main ones as far as player props for the series, and my series bets, as I mentioned, the 6-7 box. I would say it's not my best bet for the show, but if I had a best bet for the series, it's over 1.5 goals, Brett Howden, for sure. I couldn't believe how cheap that was for Brett Howden. Like, you're getting plus money for him just to score 2 goals in this series. Like, he's clearly making an impact. He's clearly found just incredible chemistry playing on that line with Mitch Marner and William Karlsson. That line's been great for Vegas. So I think to be able to get over 1.5 goals with Brett Howden at plus money, it's pretty damn good bet with the way he's been producing here for the Vegas Golden Knights. All right, let's get to Game 1 specifically. ESPN has this series starting tonight, 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern. We've got Colorado minus 170, home favorite, 6 the total. You know what's funny about this money line price on Colorado? This was as high as minus 190. And we have seen about a little 20-cent drop here, and it's because of the news of Cale Makar being ruled out here for Game 1. It's directly related to that it's come down, this price on Colorado here in the last few hours since the Cale Makar news. And look, it is a big deal. Obviously, everything he does for this team, he's great in his own end. He's obviously offensively capable with the power play, quarterbacking, shooting the puck, you name it. He is a excellent defender as well. I mean, you just look at it, and it's a big loss for Colorado. It forces Jared Bednar to shake up his defensive pairings. I think it's going to be Devon Taves, Sam Malinsky, Josh Manson, Brent Burns, Brett Kulak on that third pair. And it looks like entering the lineup here tonight for the Colorado, it's Jackashan, everybody, Jackashan for the Colorado Avalanche. Looks like he's going to be coming in here for Colorado as the 6th defenseman here tonight. And then up front, the big news is obviously Arturi Lehkonen on the second line. He's going to draw in to the lineup here for the Avs, and happy to have him back. Landeskog, McKinnon, Natchez. So pretty much a line that was intact for most of that Minnesota series. I really like the way this sets up here for Colorado. Like I said, you've got threats to score on all 4 lines. Colton, Kadri, Nichushkin can pot a goal for you. And we clearly know Parker Kelly, especially on the 4th line with Drury and O'Connor, can pot a goal for you. You look at the center position for Vegas, Eichel, Karlsson, Hurt. That's actually, and Jonathan mentioned it in the chat, that's a nice quartet as far as center is concerned. Eichel, William Karlsson being back. Hurdle's not like he used to be, obviously. Not prime Tomas Hurdle like in San Jose, but at the same point in time, still a veteran, solid enough third-line center. Okay, foot speed's always a concern. That's where it's going to be a concern in this series because of the way Colorado can push that pace, drive that pace. And how's Tomas Hurdle going to be able to handle that? And then you got tricky Nicky Dowd on your 4th line as a center. So, like I said, the center depth here for Vegas is not bad. Scott Wedgwood confirmed in net. No shock there. Some big news, though, coming out of the morning skates. And obviously we saw Makar skating. He's been ruled out. But apparently Mark Stone was skating with Vegas earlier today during their skate. He's obviously not going to play yet. Won't be back tonight. But certainly starting to look more and more like we will see Mark Stone potentially at some point in this series. Now, will it be Game 2? Will it be Game 3? We don't know the exact day, the exact game he might return. But when you see him skating out there earlier for Vegas, certainly looks like we're going to see Mark Stone back at some point, no question. As far as tonight's Game 1, that is exactly Kenny Woo Woo Woo. You're right. That's exactly what I am doing here as far as Game 1 in the series with the Colorado, because I want Colorado in the series because I still think they're going to win it, but there's no way. Obviously, I'm laying minus 250 series price, so I am going to get in on that Avs Game 1 series double, which is right around even money. Now, I know there's no Makar, and maybe that opens the door for Vegas to steal game one, but Colorado's been pretty good in game ones. We saw what they did, obviously, LA and obviously Minnesota winning those 2 game ones. So I'll get involved with that a little bit here. And I know Makar is a big loss as far as the offensive component. He's a big loss for the defensive component, too. And what he brings at that end of the ice as well for the Avs. So I mentioned this, I think, on the Saturday show when we talked about Buffalo-Montreal Game 6, that I had bet it right away when the Game 1 lines came out for Vegas, Colorado. I love over bifecta here. I really do. I don't know if we're going to get 9-6 again, and I'm not expecting 15 goals like we saw between Minnesota and Colorado, but this is still 2 teams that haven't played in a game for about a week, just shy of a week. I expect there to be some defensive miscues. I expect there to be some breakdowns, as you would think, in a game where it's been a while. Teams get out of their every other day rhythm and go this long without playing. And plus, I think, too, this is kind of like we talked about Minnesota, Colorado. Vegas is going to definitely feel a bit of a culture shock here because Utah and Anaheim, and then Colorado just plays at 5 times the speed with 5 times the experience of Utah and Anaheim. So that could be a little bit of a struggle out of the gate for Vegas to handle. But at the same point in time for Colorado, LA, no, not a scary offensive team. Minnesota, yes, they can be a scary offensive team, but a banged-up Minnesota team that Brodin didn't play in that series. Joel Eriksson-Ek, who was a massive, massive impact absence for the Minnesota Wild, didn't play in that series. And with Vegas starting to find their footing offensively in the latter games against Anaheim, and they've been able to score goals on the road. Now, I know Anaheim and Utah on the road is not Colorado on the road, but Vegas's production offensively on the road in these playoffs has actually been quite solid. So I think they chip in here tonight as well in game one, and we just get kind of that back and forth game. There'll be games that'll be tight. There'll be games that'll be lower scoring as the series develops and unfolds and progresses. But I don't think that'll be tonight. So I'm on over bifecta here. Over 1.5 first period and over 6 full game. Alex, game one, how are you approaching it? Vegas, Colorado.
I think we're going to see things open up early in this. I like that first period over 1.5. I actually got -120 a couple days ago, but I still see a -128 available at FanDuel, so I do recommend that. Also, we'll grab +176 with both teams to score in the first, but I'm not on that full game over. And I actually have a little piece of the draw +320. I could see this, being a bit of a feeling out process early, and then things kind of slowing down and becoming a little bit more defensive, a little bit more cagey. And I think at +320, I think this is a solid spot. We've been seeing overtimes galore, right? We saw overtime in Game 7. You go in the NBA, we saw the first time ever Western Conference Final Game 1, Eastern Conference Final Game 1 go to overtime. Seems like this just has that draw season kind of feel. But I think that's after an explosive first period where we get that both teams to score in that first period over as well.
Yeah, as far as goal prop, like I already mentioned, a bunch of series-long goal props that I like. Brett Howden, over 1.5 goals, a dabble in the leading goal scorer in the series for him. So I'm obviously going to be on his goal prop tonight here for game one specifically. And again, you get north of +300 again. Another great price on Brett Howden. I'm going to go to the Parker Kelly once again, one more time. How do we not? He's +950. In some spots tonight to find the back of the net. He scored in the last 2 games of the series against Minnesota as well, Game 4 and Game 5 of that series. So, to be able to get Parker Kelly, like I said, +950 is out there at DraftKings. It's just a tremendous price. So those are my 2 favorite goal props right there, Howden and Kelly here for this game tonight, just from a value standpoint. Talked about Nathan MacKinnon. I'm on +2,500 for him to score a goal in every game in this series. I think that is a bet that makes a ton of sense to me. And plus, he's on a 6-game goal streak here in the playoffs as well. So, obviously, MacKinnon is going to be a threat once again. So the problem is I'm not going to bet his game 1 goal prop. It's only like even money. But I think that 25-1 shot for MacKinnon to have a goal in every game in this series is worth a look. Landeskog, yep. Jonathan mentioning him, he's on the top line. He'll be on the power play. So +250 goal, +136 assist. The point prop is a little pricey, so you might just want to do the goal and the assist. We've talked about in our own group chat how with Makar out, that means Malinsky and Taves become the prominent defensemen. So if you're looking at shots on goal, Malinsky, yep. Taves as well. Both of those guys to get a point. I mean, you're going to get great prices for both of them to get a point. You're going to get Malinsky at plus 150 to get a point tonight. I think it's great value, no question. And for Devon Taves, you've got his point prop at plus 120 at some spots, plus 110. So you're getting really good prices there as far as those two guys who are going to get the bulk of the ice time now, Malinsky and Taves, on that blue line for Colorado without the services of Cale Makar. So those are the main ones. Lehkonen slotting back in. It's just a question of does he hit the ground running here back in the lineup, but certainly usually I like it when someone's coming back in the lineup to make an impact, so I don't mind Lehkonen props. I already mentioned Howden for Vegas. Close shave Barbashev with Eichel and Dorofeyev. There's still some value there with Barbashev and Dorofeyev over shots, and obviously is capable of scoring a goal too. You could go with the goal prop. I'm on Dorofeyev over goals for the series as well here for the Vegas Golden Knights. I'm on the over 2.5 goals in the series for Dorofeyev. That's plus 150 at FanDuel. But the over shots on goal for Dorofeyev makes a ton of sense. It's been pretty consistent for him getting over that shots on goal number since he moved up to the top line for the Vegas Golden Knights, and he's playing on the number one power play. He's gone over 2.5 shots in 3 straight games. Big Val Nichushkin's gone over 1.5 shots in 2 straight games. Ross Colton's gone over 1.5 shots on goal in 2 straight games, and you're getting plus money there. Noah Hannafin over 1.5 shots in 2 straight games for Vegas. You're getting plus money there. Dylan Coghlan for Vegas, interesting, over 1.5 shots in back-to-back games, and you're getting like plus 170 or so for him there. Point prop streaks, we've got Dorofeyev, 4 straight games to end the Anaheim series with a point, 4-game point streak for him. Tomas Hertl, 3-game point streak for him. Nick Waugh, 2-game point streak for him to Cuban Wayne Gretzky's point. Nick Waugh's could make an impact in this series. He's gotten points in back-to-back games. Obviously, Parker Kelly, we've talked about him. Rasmus Anderson on the blue line for Vegas has points in back-to-back games entering this series. And Carter Hart has gone over his saves prop in 2 consecutive games. And that would be the saves prop I'd feel better about tonight is Carter Hart. I could see Colorado controlling the flow, having a few more shot volume at home in this first game than Vegas. So I don't mind the Carter Hart over saves here tonight. Shout out to everyone. Ross Colton, no issues with that. That's good. That's probably the best value from the 3rd and the 4th line for a Colorado goal prop tonight outside of Parker Kelly. For me, it would be Ross Colton. I don't disagree with that. All right, shout out to everyone in the chat. Hit the like button. We appreciate it very much. And a reminder, we mentioned it, on Monday's show officially, but we'll just remind you that tomorrow night we're on for our first live betcast of the conference finals. Game 1, we can change that now. We know it's the Montreal Canadiens, so we'll get rid of the Buffalo Sabres. See you later. There you go. Montreal Canadiens, Carolina Hurricanes, tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern, Patreon exclusive, live betcast, Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Final. So make sure you join us on that betcast. To join us on that betcast, you must be a Patreon member. So get on board if you aren't already. Patreon.com/IceGuys, just $10 per month. And along with the access to our Patreon exclusive live betcast, you'll get goalie charts, totals charts, daily betting cards, sides totals, player props posted each and every day throughout the playoffs. We will be starting to unveil sports betting cards in other sports on June 1st on the days with no NHL. So that is coming as well. Yeah, Shaka Khan, I Feel For You is the song that I referenced with Jacka Sean. I thought that was the obvious one. I mean, come on, that's how his name is pronounced. It's Jacka Sean, let me rock it, Jacka Sean. Yeah, it always makes you think of that song. It's perfect. It's perfect. It was a perfect song reference with him. And he will play tonight on the blue line, obviously. He's the guy coming in for Colorado with no Cale Makar. Jacka Sean, he'll be playing for them tonight. But anyway, patreon.com/IceGuys, $10 per month. Get on board. Your membership goes a long way to supporting the show and keeping it going long term. $10 per month. Patreon.com/IceGuys.
Yeah, and also check out the Ice Guys store, iceguys.myspreadshop.com. We've got hats, we've got T-shirts, we've got hoodies, we've got jackets, we've got all kind of wonderful items. And now's a great time to pick some of those things up. So just check them out, the Ice Guys store. That's at iceguys.myspreadshop.com.
All right, bargain bin special of the night and best bets coming up right after we hear from our great Ice Guys sponsors.
Wizard Sports Picks, featuring the finest handicappers in the universe. Sharp insights, trusted picks, and relentless results. We strive to help you become consistent winners. This is Wizard Sports Picks.
All right, bargain bin special of the night. Yeah, I think it was a dry game 7 on Monday night with Buffalo, Montreal. We didn't hit anything in the bargain bin for that game, but it's still been just a really tremendous bargain bin special of the night run, really all season, but especially here in the Stanley Cup playoffs. It's been really good. The results have been strong. See if we can add to it here tonight in Game 1 of the Western Conference Final between the Vegas Golden Knights and Colorado Avalanche. Alex, we'll start with you. Bargain bin special of the night.
Yeah, I think with the absence of Cale Makar on that blue line, we're going to see some of those guys step up. And one of those veteran players that I think will chip in tonight will be Brent Burns. You get him plus 600 anytime goal over at FanDuel. So that's the one I'm going to be rolling with tonight. Brent Burns to get a goal for the Colorado Avalanche plus 600. That'll be my bargain bin special for this game.
There you go, Brent Burns, the Bushman, as I like to call him because of that thick fucking beard of his. Brent Burns for the Colorado Avalanche at plus, 1,200 is the price. As good as that for him finding the back of the net. So great price. Brent Burns for Colorado with Alex's bargain bin special of the night. Piece of cake choices for me with bargain bin special of the night. I'll go with one for each team. I already mentioned them, that they were my favorite props respectively for each team. We're going back to the Brett Howden well for the Vegas Golden Knights. We've got him over 1.5 goals in the series. We got him a small shot for him to lead the series in goals, but we're going to take him obviously to find the back of the net here in Game 1, plus 370 at FanDuel for Brett Howden for Vegas. And the other one, he's looking for his 3rd straight playoff game with a goal. Parker Kelly, plus 950 for the Colorado Avalanche. So Brett Howden, plus 370 for Vegas, and Parker Kelly, plus 950 for Colorado for my 2 bargain bin specials for Game 1 of the Western Conference Final. All right, best bets. Alex, what do you got for best bet?
I'm expecting goals early in this one and then things to kind of taper down a little bit late. So let's go with that first period goal, both teams to score, plus 176 here with Vegas and Colorado. Is the best price I'm seeing available over at FanDuel. That'll be my best bet for tonight.
There you go. Both teams to score. First period, Vegas, Colorado for Alex with his best bet. And my best bet, we'll just go to the full game, over 6, minus 120. Best price out there with that. Again, this is kind of that theory I used with Minnesota, Colorado, Game 1 in the second round. I think for both of these teams, it's going to be, a little bit of a different feel, trying to defend each other, maybe a struggle out of the gate, not to mention the layoff. I could see, again, more turnovers, a little more sloppy play defensively. And I think at least for Game 1, we're going to get some tighter, lower scoring games. That's later on in the series. I don't doubt that. But I think for Game 1 tonight, we'll see the offenses rule the roost. So we'll go with Vegas, Colorado, over 6, minus 120 for best bet here for Game 1 of the Western Conference Final. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Hit the like button. We appreciate it very much. And again, tomorrow, big day tomorrow because we'll be back at our regular time, 2 p.m. Eastern, to tee up the series. Montreal, Carolina, and Game 1. And then, of course, the BetCast tomorrow night, Patreon members only, 8 p.m. Eastern for Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Final. There's also a certain AHL playoff game that I know Alex will be interested in tomorrow night. We'll have to keep our eye on that with those Grand Rapids Griffins trying to stay alive once again against the Chicago Wolves. But it'll be a good night of hockey. Looking forward to it. A reminder, the Ice Guys is live 7 days a week, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday, Sunday, noon Eastern. If you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form. on all major podcast platforms. For Alex B. Smith, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Wednesday night. Enjoy Game 1 of the Western Conference Final, and good luck. And we'll talk to you again Thursday, 2 p.m. Eastern, for another edition of the Ice Guys.